Hi there, I'm Matt Holland and you're watching Irish Football Fan TV.
Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. It's me, Paul, as always, and this is my squad reaction to Martin O'Neill's provisional squad to play Northern Ireland and Denmark. Obviously one's a friendly and one's a UEFA Nations League game. The goalkeepers that were picked were Darren Randolph, Colin Doyle, Sean McDermott and Provisional Kelleher of Liverpool. So obviously, unless in the friendly he decides to go with some other keeper other than Randolph, I don't see anyone getting in ahead of Randolph in terms of competitive games. I think Darren's really taken that number one spot and gone with it. I don't see anyone's really put it up to him to kind of get in ahead of him, and for me fully warrants that number one spot until further notice anyway. Colin Doyle, just another reserve. I mean, I don't really know what's the point in bringing him up. I mean, he's 30 plus now, not really going anywhere in the SPL. You know, it's not like he's going to get in and become number one. I highly doubt it. Sean McDermott then obviously playing with that Norwegian club. Don't really know too much about him. He was obviously included in a lot of squads recently and, you know, didn't really get in either. I mean, he's training with the team, so that's all I know. Provisional Kelleher, you know, fair play to this kid. And I've said it to Johnny, obviously everyone knows Johnny's a huge Liverpool fan and everyone knows I'm an Everton fan, but he thinks I'm being a little bit bitter in the fact that he's getting into the squad. It's not that I'm bitter about that at all. I'd like to see any Irish player do well no matter what club they play for. My biggest point is that he's just in Champions League squad. He's not kicking a ball. Like, I know he's playing with some of the best players in the world. Don't get me wrong. Before all you Liverpool fans can be pelters in the comments, it's not that. That's not the thing that annoys me. It's the fact that he's not playing. He's doing well in reserves or you know, in training with the reserves or whatever. That's all perfectly fine. Like, yeah, bleed him in. But to be celebrating the fact that there's a Liverpool player in there who's not actually playing, you know, he's not actually getting in the team. It'd be different if he was like, you know, an outfield player and he was coming on off the bench or whatever. Similar enough to, you know, Masterson, who was in the squad last year. You know, fair play to him. But, you know, where's he gone since? You know, there's not been any talk of him getting called up or anything like that. So that's just my worry in regards to that. You know, if he does come in and do well, happy days. But like, I'd rather see him go on loan and actually play first team football, and then see if he can break his way into the squad. That's just how I feel about it anyway. Well, I'd be interested, you know, Liverpool fans especially. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this young man, and you know, is he that good? You know, I mean, he's bought a 65 million goalkeeper to come in, and he's done, you know, reasonably well. One mistake, but other than that, looks very good and looks like a very good goalkeeper. But he looks like he's going to be the number one for a long time. I don't see Kelleher getting in ahead of him in any time soon. Then moving on to defence, obviously we've got our captain Seamus Coleman back, and he's after scoring there the weekend just passed, which is brilliant to see him come back into form just at the right time. And Matt Doherty seems to just kind of, you know, his form seems to be dipped a little bit. But, you know, it was always going to come playing with a team that just came up from the Championship, as good as they are and as good as the players that they have. Again, nothing against him. I think he's a fabulous player, and, you know, by all right, he's always trying to fit Christie in there, but hopefully that stops now, and hopefully he tries to fit Doherty and Coleman into the same team, because I think, you know, majority of Irish fans would like to see that, and, you know, you can't really argue with that. Obviously, Cyrus Christie's in the squad as well. I like Cyrus. I think he really doesn't warrant the amount of stick that he gets. I think the manager doesn't help him by the positions that he puts him in and the games that he puts him in. But look, Cyrus can only turn up and try to do what he has been doing. So, you know, in his defence, I have nothing but good things to say about Cyrus. Another Premier League player in that squad. So look, the more Premier League players we have, the better. People are always complaining, saying, "Oh, we're Championship players, this and that." But when we have a Premier League player, we don't celebrate it. Oh, unless he's a reserve for Liverpool. Then in defence, Shane Duffy, Kieran Clark, and Kevin Long, Richard Keogh, and Jimmy Dunn, who's on loan from Burnley at Hearts, I believe. And he's done quite well since his loan move. But again, I just think he's in there to be training with the team just to see how he's going to fare. I don't see him making the final squad. I do believe that if there's any sort of, you know, back three, it's going to include Richard Keogh, Clark, Duffy, or Kevin Long. I don't see John Egan or Darragh Lenihan coming in there unless they're going to play the friendly game. Like, I'd love to see. I thought John Egan was fabulous against Poland and looked their best defender that night. But since then, hasn't really got a look in for Ireland. He's obviously done well with Sheffield United, record signing and everything like that. You know, he's had a great start to the season. They're obviously, you know, flying high in the championship. Richard Keogh's enjoying a good season with Derby as well, so you can't really fault him. And every time he plays in the Irish shirt, he does well, so you can't fault him either. But look, it'll be interesting. Darragh Lenihan, I think he's just in there just to kind of get squad experience and, you know, train with the team. I don't, unless maybe he gets a few minutes against Northern Ireland. That's the only thing I can get out of this anyway. And then we have obviously our left backs. Then we have Enda Stevens, Greg Cunningham and Derek Williams. And obviously Derek Williams done very well against France and really hasn't got a look in since. Greg Cunningham, I mean, he must be thinking like, oh, they just call me up to this squad for the fun of it and then just leave me out when they want the final squad. And, you know, Enda Stevens, to be fair to him, you know, every time he's come in, he's done a job and he's looked well and never looked out of place in the international scene, for me anyway. I'd be interested to see who you guys would choose if you had to pick a left back or a left wing back, if you rather, in this sense, because it seems to be the way we're going now at the moment. And then going into midfield, then obviously we've got Robbie Brady back, which is brilliant to see. We've been calling for Robbie to come back for a long time now, you know, waiting for him to come back from injury, and he's played a few games now, albeit results haven't gone Burnley's way, but it's great for him to get minutes. And, you know, with James McLean being suspended against Denmark, what better player to have out on the left hand side or wherever he's going to operate in this team now with the way formations have gone. But definitely an upgrade on James McLean, and that's no disrespect or anything to James McLean, but Robbie Brady technically is a better player and is fond of a big moment, as is seen against Bosnia and as is seen in Lille against Italy. So you can't really say it. And then his buddy, obviously Jeff Hendricks, in the squad again. Jeff didn't perform to the best of his abilities, I suppose, in the last few games for Ireland that he's played. I think he's even come out and said that by his own, you know, admission. And Roy Keane, he's gone over with Roy Keane over, you know, what he could do better and stuff like that. So at least he's addressing the situation, which is good to see, because there's a lot of players that kind of come in and think that they've done enough just because they put on the shirt. But look, this is the way it is. For some odd reason, Glenn Whelan's back in the team. I can't get my head around it, to be honest. I know James McCarthy's, you know, not 100% yet. I think he'll be in that squad once he comes back. After playing a few games, I think he'll be back in an Irish squad in the new year, albeit he stays injury free, touch wood. But yeah, Glenn Whelan, it's a strange one for me. I'm not really going to go too much into it because he hasn't made the final squad. I like Glenn Whelan, but I just think he's a bit over the hill now. I think most Irish fans would agree. He already is the lad that gets the most abuse when he does play, regardless, and always has for whatever reason. I always thought he'd done a very good job for us, and, you know, solid and reliable. You know, as soon as he left Stoke, they got relegated. I think that kind of shows, himself and Walters. So I think that kind of showed. A lot of the fans even came out and said it. So I think sometimes we're very fond of not appreciating our own players, but I just think at this point of his age, I just think he's over the hill, in my own opinion. You probably think differently. That's fine. Let me know in the comments. Harry Arthur, David Moyler back in as well. Alan Brown, Sean Williams. Just the usual suspects really now, isn't it? So, you know, it's obviously good to have Arthur back there, but, you know, it's not really exciting me. Ideally, I'd like to see Conor Hurrihan or Alan Brown step up to the plate now in this set of games and see what they can bring to the team, because everyone's saying how good they are in the championship. Wish they could bring their form from the championship into the team, but as I say, it's not easy with the way Martin O'Neill picks teams and plays teams. Everyone is playing everywhere, and it's just not I wouldn't imagine it's enjoyable playing for that team, to be fair, because the ball's just kind of bypassing you all the time. Although we've tried to play in the last couple of games that we've played, so I have to say that now. But then we have the inclusions of Richie Towell and Ryan Manning. I just look. it's another one. I just think they're in there to train. I don't think they're in there to make the final squad. I mean, look at it last time. They were announced. Richie Towell was obviously announced, and then he was cut loose fairly quickly. So, like, I'm not getting excited about any of this type of stuff. Like, well done to the lads for getting in there. You know, they're obviously showing decent form or whatever, but for me, I just don't see them getting in there ahead of the players that I've already spoke about beforehand. I think they're all O'Neill's favourites, and I just don't see it. Like, I'd like to see it, but I just don't see it happening. Or they're going to get in ahead of these players. I mean, Callum O'Dowda, definitely delighted to have him in there, and I think, you know, he's the only one who's going to, you know, run with the ball, maybe besides Brady, run with the ball and create hassle and create chances, because no one else in that team really does, or in that squad even, besides maybe Brady or just O'Dowda. McLean's in that squad. He's suspended for the game against Denmark, so unless he's just in there for the friendly, but, you know, what's the point? Why not have someone in there who might be able to make a difference? You know, it's bizarre for me. If he's suspended, he should just travel with the squad and, you know, prepare himself for that next year, next set of qualifiers, well, which will be next year. But it's just frustrating, because there's players in there that, you know, could do well, I think, and they're not really, they're kind of quite overlooked. Like, for example, in the forward line, Pat Hooban has just had to score on 32 goals for Dundalk, and won the double, won the league and cup, and God knows how many assists he has, but he can't seem to get into the squad. But Graham Burke, not too long ago, was getting in the Ireland squad. You know, played against France, Celtic, and then the USA. But for some reason, Pat Hooban can't seem to get in, and he scored 32 goals in all competitions, 29 in the league, but for some reason is constantly overlooked. Michael Duffy, I believe, was his paperwork hasn't came in time, and that's the only reason he wasn't in the squad. Apparently, he was being picked. But if you're gonna go that way, what more does Pat Hooban have to do for to get into the squad? Like, does he have to get a move? Be interested to hear, especially League of Ireland fans. You know, obviously we go games week to week, and we see these players. But there's a lot of fans out there who'll just dismiss it because he plays League of Ireland, and they'll just dismiss it before it's even, you know, given it a second look. I mean, up front, doesn't really, you know, scream out goals from him. We've got Shane Long, Scott Hogan, Aidan O'Brien, Sean Maguire, Ronan Curtis, Callum Robinson, and then we have that young lad, Michael Obafemi, at Southampton, who's, you know, hasn't played that much. For me, I'd love to see Sean Maguire get a run. I'd like to see him and maybe Robinson get a run together, but nothing really excites me other than that. I mean, I'm looking at it. Shane Long, he probably has his worst game of the season against Man City the other day. And Obafemi obviously came on that game, but even in the papers, he's got a 6 out of 10, or no, sorry, he was a 4 out of 10. It was anonymous. So, albeit Shane will run the channels and he's playing Premier League, I probably would rather up front have it, if we're going with a 2, I'd rather have Sean Maguire and Callum Robinson, because I thought the game against Wales are the only 2 players up front that kind of showed any sort of will to win. But look, I've kind of rambled on a bit too much longer than I expected. I'm quite frustrated with this squad, I'm not going to lie. I just feel as though it was a wasted opportunity for some players, and, you know, I'm not even going to get into the Declan Rice thing, because that's a story for a different day, and I'm not really that bothered about him anymore. I mean, kind of looking at it, I wouldn't like to play for Martin O'Neill the way he is at the moment. He's just so bitter, and he's just been annoying me lately. And yeah, I'm not excited about the squad. But let me know what you thought about this provisional squad. Anyway, I'd be interested to hear the thoughts of the rest of you. Let us know, and as always, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Huge shout out to our sponsors, Halfway Cabs. If you haven't downloaded their app, please do so now. The link is in the bio for Apple and for Android. Thank you very much for watching Irish Football Fan TV. Have a great day.